Okay, so today we're going to make a sculpture that looks a little bit like this, in the style of Henry Moore. Henry Moore was a very famous English sculptor who made these lovely forms, and the way we're going to do it, it won't be quite as difficult as Henry Moore when he made his sculptures, because we're going to automate the process a little bit using this method of injecting plaster into balloons. And I'll show you how it's done. It's pretty simple. The materials that we need to begin are, of course, balloons. These work the best. They're punching balloons, and they're very, very tough. Helium balloons, though, work well. These are a little on the small side. 12-inch balloons work the best. I think these might be 6-inch or 8-inch, perhaps. If you use smaller balloons like these, you need to double them up. So you push one balloon inside of the other, and then you get a double thickness balloon. That'll come in handy later on. You'll see why. If you're using the punching balloons, though, you don't need to double them up because they're plenty strong. You need some caps. It'll become apparent why those are needed later on. Some rope, some clamps. This is a pretty good clamp. This clamp is not very useful. It's a little on the small side. This clamp is better, although it's broken. That end is busted off. That's where these things come in handy, right? You put them on the end, even on this side, and it makes it easier to extract the clamp from the sculpture after it's hardened up. These clamps are the best. They're speed clamps, right? So they're used in woodworking. The way that you work them is you push it until there's tension there, and then you tighten it up like this. And the way that you make these holes in your sculpture is, once you've tightened that clamp all the way, pushes all the plaster out of the balloon, and you get a hole going right through. If you tighten the clamp only a certain distance, then you get depressions like this one here that doesn't go quite all the way through. Smaller clamps like this one are good too, but it's nice to have this width right there, because then you can make a hole very deep into the sculpture. Okay, if you have a big rubber band, that might come in handy, and some string. String is kind of important. And then this here, a nylon stocking, pretty standard thing. And this is also pretty important, and it'll be apparent in a minute why. So I'm going to set this aside. Of course, the thing you need also is plaster. This is pottery plaster, the stuff that ceramists use when they're making slip mold casts, making molds for slip casting. And this gives nice fine details, so it's excellent for this project. A 2-liter pop bottle filled 2/3 of the way full with cold water and a funnel. Okay, so, and a towel for your hands. This is our mixing container. We also have another container over here for slops. So this is messy water that's going to end up in there. Okay, so this is how we do it. We take the water that's in our pop bottle. Oops, it's pretty windy out here. Okay, and we'll empty it into our mixing container, like so. Okay. Hopefully that's not going to blow away. Get our plaster out. I'm just going to set this down here. And we begin to shovel in the plaster. The way we want to do it is we want to sprinkle the plaster over the surface of the water. I think I should tilt this so you can see what I'm doing. So we want to sprinkle this into the water. We're not mixing anything yet. We're just sprinkling it in there. We want to keep doing that. We want to keep sprinkling it in there until we create little islands on the surface of the water. So we're not measuring anything. The only thing we measured was the water. Okay, we wanted 2/3 of a bottle of water. The amount of plaster that we're adding to the water will increase the volume, so we end up with a full bottle. There we go. Okay. So now, let's see if I can tilt that so you can see the little islands that have formed. You can kind of see there are little islands there beneath the surface of the water. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Okay, so now you want to go in there and break up any little lumps with your hand. It doesn't take much mixing. You don't want to overdo it. So what we don't want to do is to put lots of air in there. Then we'll take our funnel. I'm gonna rinse my hand in my slop bucket. Use my towel. And we're gonna take this and we're gonna pour it into the bottle. If there's a few lumps, don't worry, it's fine. As long as it's mostly smooth. And just about perfect. Here we go. Okay, so now we'll set that aside, let it dry, take my balloon, blow it up a bit, and then we want to put that end over the bottle, like so. Okay, so we have our blown up balloon on the bottle of plaster. Now we'll pinch that neck, turn it over, and empty the plaster into the balloon. Now what's happening here is the air is exchanging places with the plaster. The air is leaving the balloon and going up into the bottle and pushing out the plaster into the balloon. There we go. That bottle's now empty. Okay, so now we want to very carefully remove that. Okay, this is the tricky part. You got to get that air out of there. You want to do it without getting plaster everywhere. Okay, so we got the air out. The plaster is right there in the throat of the balloon. Now what we're going to do is tie that off, or if you're using a smaller balloon, you're going to want to use your string to tie it, okay? But once you have a knot in it like so, got a little bit of air there, that's okay. once you have it like so, then you're ready to go. So we can clean that balloon a little bit. It's not too bad. I'm going to take, it's really windy out here. I'm going to take this, we're going to put the balloon in the nylon stocking, like so. What this does is it gives friction, it adds friction to the piece, to the balloon, so that as you're binding it, your rope isn't going all over the place. So I don't know which is better, which you prefer, the heavy rope or the thin rope. What you need to do is just play and experiment and see what works the best for you. I don't think it matters that much whether you're using heavy rope or thin rope. I'm going to start with the thin rope. Okay, so first we'll distort the balloon in one spot, and then maybe turn it over, distort it in another. Okay, so let's try the thicker rope and see how it works. This rope is really thick. Let's fix that a little. Okay, here we go. If you have a partner to work with, it's probably going to be easier for you. Working by yourself can sometimes be a challenge. But just keep going at it until you achieve something. Okay, so there we've tied it into 4 spots. Let's use some clamps now. So I'm going to use these, maybe these smaller ones. And the reason is that it makes it easier to remove the clamp afterward. So let's put this one through right there maybe. Put a clamp on the other side too. Okay, so here you have to be courageous. Don't be afraid to push all the way down until your clamp gets tight. Wait, I don't think I think we have to give ourselves a little more room here. There we go. Push it down and then tighten it. Okay. We'll set that like that maybe. Now, let's try, oh, here's something you can do. If you have something that has texture, you can imprint the texture onto the surface of your sculpture. We're going to try and do that maybe right here. Let's see. Like that. Put another bottle cap on the other side. There we go. Then that one I don't think we're going to tighten all the way. We'll just tighten it some of the way. There. And now I think I want to put another clamp I'm going to put another clamp over here. This one, we're just going to put like this. Like so. And then, well, we've got one more clamp. Maybe we should put... Okay, so at a certain point you have to say enough is enough, but you also have to be courageous about it and decide that you want to do as much deforming of the piece as possible. So we're going to take this clamp and we're going to put this clamp over here. And we're going to push this clamp in. Is this the reason for doubling the balloons if you're using the smaller 12-inch helium? Because sometimes that first layer of latex will break on you. With these bigger balloons, if you're careful not to twist the balloon, but rather just to apply pressure, then the chances are very good that it won't break. But if it does break, then most of it will be contained within the nylon stocking, so it's not going to make too big of a mess. Okay, so there's a problem here. The problem is that went right through. Okay, so that's not good. I think maybe we want to use something bigger. Or we could just leave it. I don't know. Nah, let's go for it. Let's go for it. One of these on either side. You have about 10 minutes to do as much as you can to your piece. And after about 10 minutes, then you've kind of run out of time. Your plaster will have started to set up at that point. There's a wasp here. Go away. That's really difficult. Don't know if that's going to hold. Well, let's see what happens. No, see that all that wants to do is slip off. Alright. I think we're going to do it differently. We're going to use this one. Use this one up here. I think that's completely closed there. And this one, I think we're going to try this one like so. Let's see how it works. I guess we'll try this one like this and see what happens. There. Okay, so you can see that there's a huge amount of trial and error and lots of chances for happy accidents, I think is what they call them. Things that you haven't anticipated that are probably going to look pretty cool. We're going to let that sit and set up, and then we'll disassemble everything.